Hi, my name is Toby Pierce, and I'd like to share a devotional thought with you today. We're continuing our journey through the book of Acts, and last time we were in the first part of Acts 27, and now we'll finish that chapter today. So what's going on is that Paul is really kind of on his journey to Rome. He's on a ship with 276 people. And they've hit a storm. It's wintertime. Wintertime's coming on, and it's a stormy season. But they had kind of a favorable wind for just a little while, and so the sailors decided to risk it, and so they went out, and then the storm comes up, and there they are in the ship. And Paul tells them in Acts 27 and verse 23, he's trying to encourage them. He says, "For this very night there stood before me an angel of the God to whom I belong and to whom I worship. And he said, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar. And behold, God has granted you all those who sail with you. Take heart, man. For I have faith in God that it will be exactly as I have been told. But we must run aground on some island.'" And so here we begin in verse 27 of Acts 27. The boat here is because in Vacation Bible School we've been going through the book of Jonah. And so that's why the boat. But it makes a great way to also talk about the shipwreck of the Apostle Paul in Acts 27. Okay, so verse 27 of Acts 27. "When the 14th night had come, and as we were being driven across the Adriatic Sea, about midnight the sailors suspected that they were nearing land, so they took soundings and found 20 fathoms. A little farther on, they took soundings again and found 15 fathoms. And fearing that we might run on the rocks, they let down 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for day to come. As the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship and had lowered the ship's boat into the sea under the pretense of laying out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, 'Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved.' Then the soldiers cut away the ropes of the ship's boat and let it go. So the sailors took soundings. Well, the way that worked was that they had a lead weight tied to a rope, and every 6 feet, which is 1 fathom, every 6 feet of the rope, they tied a knot, and they lowered the rope to the sea floor, and they counted the knots as they went by to see how deep the water was right there. Well, so they take one sounding at 20 fathoms, which is 120 feet. And then soon again, they do it, and it's only 15 fathoms. So now it's only 90 feet. So they realized they soon could crash. Remember, this is a big boat. 276 people are on board. Well, next they prayed for day to come. Have you ever prayed for day to come? Time slows down so much it seems to just stand still on nights like that, doesn't it? Well, here they are. They can't see where they are. They can't see where they're going. And they can't really choose a direction because the storm is taking them where it wants them to go. But the Adriatic Sea, that's part of the Mediterranean Sea. It's the part that goes between Italy and Eastern Europe. So if you picture Italy as that big boot-looking piece of land, well, the Adriatic Sea is the water that forms the back of the boot. It separates Italy from Croatia and Bosnia and Albania. Well, I mention that because the Adriatic Sea is a very long way from where they're going to end up. They're in the water east of Italy. And Italy is the boot that they are on the back of. They're on the back of the side of the boot. And the toe of the boot looks like it's kicking an island named Sicily. And Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea. It is about 140 miles wide, just short of that, 139 something. Well, south of Sicily, about another 177 miles, is the island of Malta, and that's where they're going to end up. Well, so they're going to end up hundreds of miles off course and hundreds of miles from Rome. The people mentioned in this passage are sailors and soldiers and Paul. The weather is so rough that the sailors decide to abandon the ship, and they pretend to lower some more anchors, but really they're lowering this smaller boat into the sea so that they can escape from the ship. But now people are beginning to listen to Paul, and he tells them, unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved. And then the soldiers cut away the ropes of the ship's boat and let it go. Verse 33. As the day was about to dawn, Paul urged them to take some food, saying, "Today is the 14th day that you have continued in suspense and without food, having taken nothing." The sea has been rough, and so they haven't eaten for 14 days. Verse 34, "Therefore I urge you to take some food, for it will give you strength, for not a hair is to perish from the head of any of you." And when he had said these things, he took bread, and giving thanks to God in the presence of all, he broke it and began to eat. Then they all were encouraged and ate some food themselves. There were in all 276 persons in the ship. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship, throwing out the wheat into the sea. So 276 people on board. Paul gives thanks in the presence of them all. Then they eat and they throw their cargo, the wheat, overboard into the sea to lighten the boat so it's going to rise up higher on the waters and the waves won't come in quite so bad. Well, if Paul can give God thanks while being a prisoner in chains, who has just made some sailors angry by getting the soldiers to cut the little boat loose, if he can give God thanks for food in that situation, then we can give God thanks in a restaurant. Verse 39. Now when it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach, on which they planned, if possible, to run the ship ashore. Remember, they had cut loose their little boat that they would normally ferry people to and from the big boat on. Verse 40, "So they cast off the anchors and left them in the sea, at the same time loosening the ropes that tied the rudders. Then hoisting the foresail to the wind, they made for the beach. But striking a reef, they ran the vessel aground. The bow stuck and remained immovable, and the stern was being broken up by the surf." Verse 42, "The soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any should swim away and escape." Now, on the one hand, the soldiers owed Paul their lives. As it was because of following what he said that it saved their lives so far. On the other hand, we learned back in Acts 16 that if a prisoner was in your care, was to escape, then you'd be put to death. So what the centurion does here is really very remarkable. Verse 43, but the centurion, wishing to save Paul, kept them from carrying out their plan to kill all the prisoners. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard and make for land, and the rest on planks or on pieces of the ship. And so it was that all were brought safely to land. You know, Paul has been wearing chains, and we see in the next chapter that Paul is wearing chains. I wonder, did Paul have to swim to the island in chains? Well, the chapter ends by saying, and so it was that all were brought safely to land. Paul's prediction was completely fulfilled. Regardless of what those around you think or do, God's plan prevails. I hope you have a blessed day.
If you would like more information, or if you'd like to participate in our Bible studies and worship services, we would love to have you come join us at the Northeast Church of Christ in Albuquerque, New Mexico.